I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go.
I am muted. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Today is Veterans Day. It is November 11th, 2025. And each year, I really enjoy putting out a message specifically for veterans. So, active duty, retired, anyone whose life has been impacted by the military. I work closely with military families, so with service members, their spouses, their children, the entire family. And then also, this video is helpful to anybody that has complex trauma. Often, individuals that go into the military, sometimes they are motivated by that because of a difficult family experience. So sometimes they are joining the military because at 18 they can escape their family, and they might not be able to be on their own. And in the military, they'll have housing, they will have food, they'll have a career, they'll have everything that they need to leave a difficult family situation. Some people go into service because they have a desire to help, they have a desire to serve their country. Some people go in for to pay back student loans. So that was something that I considered. The Air Force recruiter never got back to me, so I contacted an Air Force recruiter because I really wanted to be an Air Force psychologist. That's what I thought. I don't know that I would have loved that job because I don't like to be told what to do. So I don't know if I would have made it through officers training school or OTC. I don't know. OTS. I don't know. I don't know if I would have made it through the officers training, but I also wanted to take this time to talk more about EMDR. So I did a video recently. I collaborated with Kathy, and while 99% of people really enjoyed the video, there was a percentage of people that just did not get our humor. They did not get the video. And so that is the Latasha Daniels case. And for anybody that watched that case, I wish that she had received EMDR. What eye movement desensitization reprocessing, what it does is it's a whole treatment program. So it's not only the eye movement reprocessing, it is a way of looking at a person's life experience. It's a way of conceptualizing what they've been through and their current presenting problem, knowing that there are things from the past that are impacting them now in this moment. And what are some things that we can do to help them not be as reactive? And for some people, that starts with what we call resource development. So in that moment, the therapist will say, okay, you're in this difficult relationship, and there's a part of you that wants to leave, there's a part of you that's having difficulty. And so they might do choices have consequences. That is an intervention that the therapist can do to walk through with the individual. Okay, let's let's say you don't get out of this relationship. Where could this go? Let's say you do make that other choice. What is the thing that's keeping you here? What's the thing that's getting in your way? And for many people, when they're in a difficult relationship, the thing that's keeping them is fear of loneliness, fear of abandonment. Maybe there are certain things that are keeping the person there. And with EMDR, we're able to work through what's kind of getting in the person's way. Now, people always have choices. So even if I do this intervention with a client, they might still make the choice that they didn't want to, but then, like, we can always go back, we can always take a look at things again. And Lisa mentioned going into the military for educational benefits. Somebody else talked about financial opportunities. They didn't have anywhere else to go. And then Cassandra mentions receiving this treatment and it really helping you, especially with issues related to childhood. Yes. And that is what this type of treatment can do. Now, there are some therapists that might advertise that they provide EMDR. So there are people that have had a bad experience in this treatment. And because as a therapist, I have to make sure that my client is ready. So I would never start processing with a client day one because I don't know enough about this person. I don't know enough about their history. I don't know if they're able to manage emotions because there are some things that you need in place before you kind of start going deeper, before you start looking at the past. You have to see how the person is managing their present and make sure that they have the skills to manage difficult emotions. Make sure that they have um, what they need to be able to handle when services start to get a little bit more difficult. I want to share my screen because I have some resources linked in the description. So I think this was last year. How long ago was this? Ooh, 2 years ago. I did a video on resilience and resources for veterans. I have that video linked down in the description. Uh, it's ptsd.va.gov. They have information on EMDR. So once again, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, a type of therapy. So it's effective for PTSD, but it can also be effective for trauma. So for anxiety, for a lot of different diagnoses. I'm playing around with the view to see what's going to work best. Sorry if you're watching on the phone. Because I was able to stream to the phone too. Y'all can let me know in the chat if the view isn't good on mobile. But and Lisa mentioned getting ready to start working. Don't think that it's a good option. Can you explain how it tackles complex PTSD? Yes. So I was trained through an EMDRIA. That's EMDR. And it's an international association, and it is the gold standard for finding an EMDR therapist. So before I was trained, if I was looking to refer somebody to someone, let me go back to their website because I want to show y'all exactly how I get there. So find an EMDR therapist. I agree that I'm not like doing anything. So for my area, um, uh, and then it pulls up individuals that are trained. And so Dr. Jerome, I think I mentioned last time, she was my trainer. And so it pulls up different profiles of individuals. I used to work with Joanne. And so it pulls up individuals that are trained. I will also explain that some people have an EMDRIA certified therapist, means that they went through additional training to get certified. So right now I am EMDR trained. I'm finishing up my training. There are approved consultants. That means that they can train other people. And then there are trainers. So EMDRIA approved trainers. So as long as if a person is listed on the EMDRIA website, that means that they are able to provide EMDR. Okay. So specifically for complex PTSD, what can happen is, so I work with some individuals that are adopted. And what we've done is we don't start their work with their talking about their adoptive family. For some people, we go back to conception because maybe there was a trauma around from the very beginning of their life, and we might need to work through some negative emotions, some negative beliefs about themselves that go back early on. And with complex PTSD, what EMDR can do is, we talk about the first negative experience, because let's say I'm at the point where with a client we're processing through difficulties related to their father. We talk about their first difficulty with their father, but like we would have different points that we would process through, but it wouldn't be every single negative interaction. In EMDR, there's something called clusters. And so for some people, it would be like, okay, there are these memories that are kind of clustered together. And there are ways that the therapist is trained to work with a cluster. And for some people, if there is severe dissociation, so EMDR, the therapist has to be very careful to make sure that the person is present in their body and that they're not disconnected. So dissociation is for some people it's automatic. It's where their brain goes on autopilot. And I've worked with people that could feel themselves unplugging. They could feel themselves starting to dissociate. I've worked with some individuals with very severe levels of dissociation. And so if the therapist was going to attempt EMDR with somebody that has high levels of dissociation, they would have to be trained in dissociative disorders, because you just have to be very careful, because as you start to do the processing, if the person is disconnected and not in their body, if they are kind of in that disconnected state, they can have a lot can come up for them, including major triggers, including so it can be not good for the person's mental health doing it that way. That the way that I want my client to process, I want for them to be present in their body. I want for them to feel like they are in control of the processing. I've been able to start using this intervention, and I'm just glad that I'm seeing positive effects. And what I mean by positive effects is that what EMDR does is, so there are different ways to process trauma. So there's cognitive behavior therapy. So with cognitive behavior therapy, we talk about how maybe this negative event impacts how the person perceives themselves and then how they want to perceive themselves. And then there are techniques and things we can do to help them understand why this thought isn't, like why it's not accurate. And we can do different interventions to help the person by addressing the thoughts, the emotions associated with a negative event. What EMDR does, and Little John, let me see if I can find it. We'll see if Breakfast Club, Little John EMDR. So he recently talked about how EMDR helped him unlock certain aspects. So let me share my screen. For anybody watching on replay, I might have to cut this part out if it ends up getting copyright. Okay, so I might have to cut it out later.
I did EMDR. Did you ever do EMDR?
I never did EMDR.
EMDR is amazing because it taps into your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
When I did EMDR, stuff came out that I didn't know was there.
Mm-hmm.
So it can it can find the root of why you got that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And then I
did that with ayahuasca.
Yeah, I have not done any of that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it. I'm thinking about it, but I don't want it to change me.
It won't.
Because I just feel like I'm already at a certain place.
Yeah.
But I do want to go tap into those things that I have locked deep away.
A lot of people who've done EDMR tell me that the ayahuasca experience is pretty similar because it just everything that is in your subconscious.
So, okay. But Little John was talking about how it helped him unlock certain things from the past and from his childhood. And so the writing therapeutic model for trauma therapy So there are some people that use narrative, or that maybe they might. So I'm not sure about this specific, because you're saying writing therapeutic model. I'm not. So I know about narrative therapies, or sometimes therapists will have somebody write their story. Um, but I'm not sure about that specific one. Yes. So glad you're showing Little John clip. You kept mentioning it in other videos, and I forgetting to watch it. I know. And so it was cool how he talked about that doing EMDR, it helped kind of connect some subconscious things that were there, but he hadn't really connected to that event. Because when stressful events happen, they don't get filed away properly. So, what I ate for lunch, my lunch, it was a fine lunch, no major stress or anything. That memory is filed away in my hippocampus. That's the part of the brain that stores memory. Now, a more stressful event, uh, there might be aspects of it that are not filed away properly. And what EMDR does is it tries to help collect those fragments, because PTSD, and I don't think we talk about it enough, trauma responses are a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. So when an individual is experiencing flashbacks, when they're experiencing avoidance, when they're experiencing all of those PTSD symptoms that I've talked about on other videos, that is a normal reaction to an abnormal situation. The problem comes is when I'm applying this trauma response when it's still happening, even when I'm in a safe environment. Because so a person being hyper alert and being vigilant. So I want my soldiers to be vigilant. And there are a lot of people that when they're overseas, so let's say somebody deploys and they're in a combat situation, sometimes the symptoms don't hit them until they come back. Once they're out of that stressful event, sometimes that's when they start to experience negative things. I've worked with people that have decided to leave difficult relationships, and in the relationship, they didn't have as many symptoms, but when they left, all the things started to hit them of what they had experienced, what they had went through, and they started to kind of deal with all of the things that had piled up over time. But those things didn't hit them when they were surviving a difficult situation, because our brains are wired to survive. And when people are surviving, you're just going to focus on, like, so often people with complex PTSD, people with trauma, sometimes they have difficulty seeing long term. So planning long term for some people, that can be very difficult, because if there's a bear in front of me, I don't need to think about what's for dinner on Wednesday. I just need to get safe. But what trauma can sometimes do is it can make somebody live in that trauma response, that amygdala, that fight, flight, freeze, people please. Somebody can kind of get stuck there. If anyone has a negative experience with EMDR, so I really wanted to talk about that. Sometimes, because there are trainings offered that were like 6 hours, or that are very short, very short trainings. So the training I did was 40 hours. I did a 40-hour training. So there were, I think we had, I think it was 6 training days where we started practicing. I think it was 6 training days, and then we've had 10 hours of consultation. I did an intensive training that was, so it wasn't like just like a 6-hour weekend where now I'm going to try to work with very complex cases. I did a very intensive training, and I am going to continue to receive consultation. So I do have the goal of getting my EMDR certification to be listed on that website as like a certified um uh an EMDR certified therapist. I'll probably stop after that, but that's my goal for right now. And another thing that I'm going to look into is so the training I didn't have as much for working with marginalized groups. So there's some people that they've experienced racial trauma, or because of certain aspects of their identity, they've experienced negative things. So there's EMDR specific to eating issues or body image issues. There is EMDR techniques specific to anxiety. There's EMDR specific to racial trauma. And so I'm going to continue to get additional training to be able to do that. Are there situations where EMDR can be harmful? Yes. So so for somebody that was recently or that's actively, you have to be careful if there are safety things. So if somebody isn't mentally stable, and what I mean by mentally stable, and so it's just that we wouldn't do the processing. So there's more to EMDR than just the eye movement session. So with a client that maybe is actively having negative thoughts towards themselves or others, our first goal is going to be safety. For somebody that's actively psychotic, for somebody that experiences severe dissociation, the therapist just has to be careful with more complex situations. There are also, and let me see if I missed any. Yes. So active psychosis. So if somebody is unstable. And then I've had some people that if medically they have a lot going on, because EMDR processing can be exhausting, or if I'm working with a college student and they have a big test coming up, we wouldn't want to do processing right before something major. So, okay. All right. So when did people pleasing get added? I'm sorry, y'all. I keep hearing it clack, and I need to take those off. Okay. So when I was trained the amygdala response was fight, flight. So fight, flight, freeze. So I was taught about those. And then I think it was during COVID, I learned about fawn. So a people-pleasing response. Submit was another one. So let me see. When was fawn response added? But that is so it's Pete Walker in his 2013 book Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. I really like Pete Walker's work. And so for anybody that does not know what I'm talking about, let me share my screen, because as I mentioned, growing up, I was taught fight, flight, fight or flight, or freeze. Open new tab. Let's see. There we go. This, and I'm going to read this image because you can't see it that well, but I like the way it looks. There's probably a better version, but okay. So that fight response is self-preservation at all costs. It can be an explosive temper, angry or aggressive outbursts, difficulty hearing other points of view, demanding perfection from others. Flight can be obsessive and compulsive behavior, feelings of panic and anxiety, overworrying, workaholic, can't sit still, can't relax, micromanaging situations, always on the go, overachiever. Freeze, spacing out, feeling unreal, hibernating, isolating from the outside world, dissociating, brain fog, difficulties making decisions and acting on decisions, achievement phobic, wants to hide from the world, kind of feeling disconnected. And then fawn, people pleasing, scared to say what they really think, talks about the other instead of themselves, flatters others, angel of mercy, overcaring, sometimes easily to be taken advantage of, exploited by others, concerned about social standing, acceptance, fitting in, and kind of the yes person, that they're kind of say yes to everything. And so that work came from Pete Walker. He has some other really good books as well. All right. And so let's see. So somebody mentioned having a good practitioner, but that sometimes they would have panic attacks during processing. And so that's where at any point processing can stop. So during my training, one of the other trainees, so I was the clinician working with somebody, and they picked a memory that was a little, they thought they could kind of keep it contained, but it started to get into something that they didn't want to talk about. So we were able to, they started getting flooded with emotion. They really weren't connected. And I was able to see it like in the training. Our trainer was right there. And so we were able to go through some containment. So with EMDR, something that the therapist helps the client do is learn how to, if we don't fully get through a memory or if we don't fully process something, how do you in your mind put it into a container and send it away? So in my work office, I have some little boxes because I work with kids and teens. So I bought like a Minecraft lock box. It was, I think it's like a piggy bank, but it looks like a Minecraft box. I have a few physical boxes where younger kids can actually write down the thought. They can write something down and leave it in my office. For most of the adults I work with, they've been able to do the container, or they've been able to contain the memory just by thinking about it. Because there are some memories that take multiple sessions to work through. There are some therapists that offer what's called EMDR intensives. They are expensive. Okay. They often start at like, I don't know, because what you're doing 5 to 6 hours of EMDR, like in like a day or over 2 days, but they're intensive to kind of work through somebody's through those negative events that are impacting things and impacting their life now. My trainer offers intensives and has had people fly from out of town and uh, stay for multiple days to work on it. Um, how long do you have to meet with a therapist before they can administer EMDR? No worries, Stefan. So with processing, um, so there are aspects of the treatment that can be helpful, even if the person doesn't get to processing. So somebody, because the thing, you don't want to start hopping into the processing if the person struggles with managing their emotions, if there are major aspects of their life. So I haven't done a ton of processing with people the last few weeks because a lot of the people I work with have been impacted by the government shutdown, by SNAP benefits being impacted, by like world stuff. Like there's just been a lot of stuff happening in the world where we haven't been able to do processing the last few weeks just because there's my clients have come in and we've needed to address whatever was coming up. And it wasn't right to start doing processing that particular day. Yes, yes. Much love and appreciation to our veterans. Yes. So I can put that one on the community tab. All right. And all of the stress responses are about figuring out how to respond, how to, because there, if a person is in a dangerous situation, you might have to just survive it. And however you survive it, I'd like, you just get through it. The problem comes is I've worked with clients that are stuck in a people pleasing where they can't even ask for extra sauce at Chick-fil-A, or like if their food comes wrong, they struggle with telling safe people that or even in therapy with me, they won't tell me, Dr. Barry, I didn't like this, or I'd rather work on this. And so that's where, for people that have that severe people pleasing, we often start with practicing setting boundaries and saying no to healthy people. Because you don't start with the unhealthy people, because you're going to get a bad reaction and that's going to cause more stress. So there are some people that what we talk about is like, yeah, with your family, you need to be on guard. Like your amygdala is going to be activated in certain situations because those situations tend to be high stress and toxic. But there's a difference between being vigilant and being hyper vigilant. So being hyper vigilant is like just feeling what's that? What's this? And just kind of constantly head on a swivel, just high alert all of the time. Being vigilant is I'm aware of my surroundings, but I'm also at peace. So I'm not like, it's not this anxious energy that's causing all of that. I'm more grounded and I'm aware, but I'm not, because hypervigilance actually, like, because my amygdala is activated. And so amygdala is that it's a primitive part of the brain. It's that fight, flight, freeze, people please part of the brain. It's automatic. And when it's activated, it shuts down the thinking brain. Now, I can take a breath to reactivate, to get out of that survival response, to have a more thoughtful. So I don't want to be reactive. Now, if my kid is about to run into the street, my amygdala is going to grab him. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be like, I'm not even going to think about it. Like, I'm going to keep my kid safe, and I'm going to take a breath, and because I'm not going to scream and yell at him, we're going to talk about it. Okay. But I could also be giving a presentation and then all of a sudden start to feel unsafe, but it's like, okay, everything's okay and everything's fine. And so, yeah. And so Lisa, so they call it fawn response, but I think what's it called? Stockholm syndrome. So Stockholm, that's like where the person identifies with the person that was harming them. They might even have positive thoughts towards the person, or like they just kind of do what the person wants. I haven't looked at the research on any correlation, but I know according to Google, and I don't know, but I believe Pete Walker was one of the first ones to kind of talk about that stress response. Yes. Yes, hypervigilance is exhausting. It is. So it makes your heart rate beat fast, like it makes your heart beat faster. There is a physiological response to that. Thank you, Patricia. So it is cold. I don't know how the weather is in y'all's area. It is cold here. And so, all right. All right. So EMDR, I just wanted to talk about that being an option it's like one of many treatments. When I was learning about it and practicing it, for me, it felt like my brain was doing the work. And so when I was receiving it as the client, so any therapist that provides EMDR, they have to be willing to receive it. And I promise it's not a cult. It feels like, because I believe in it so much, like I feel like not this like I really, really love it. I've been in therapy before. I've tried cognitive behavior therapy. I've done dialectical behavior therapy. I've done lots of different types of therapy in the past. And DBT skills training, dialectical behavior therapy skills. Let me see, DBT skills. And in one of my previous videos, I shared the dbtselfhelp.com because somebody mentioned not having resources. And this is a free website where they post, I don't know if they get in trouble for it, but they post a lot of information and it's all free. So DBT talks about mindfulness skills. They help you with stop ruminating by focusing on the present. So right now I'm thinking about the fact that I'm going live with Paul in like 10 minutes, but it's like, just be in this moment, finish this video. It is what it is. Distress tolerance is it can feel like the end of the world. This module can help you survive distress without using target behaviors. Target behaviors would be maladaptive or problem coping. Emotion regulation. Many of us struggle with emotion regulation. Reduce emotional vulnerability and stabilize your emotions with these skills. And then interpersonal effectiveness. Use these skills to get your needs met in healthy ways. So interpersonal effectiveness is about minimizing like manipulation. So like getting needs met in unhealthy ways and learning better ways to get your needs met, maintain relationships, and stand up for yourself. And so this is dbtselfhelp.com. Yeah. And so it has different resources. And so I wanted to share that one. Yes. And this is another treatment. So the most important thing when looking for a therapist or finding a therapist is first finding a place where you feel supported and you just want to talk to that person. So if in your first meeting with a new therapist, you're like, I don't think this is right. I don't know if this is the right fit, but more of like the vibes that you're getting. Like if the vibes aren't a good fit, you could like, it might not be right. It might not be the right fit. ACT is very helpful. Um, I'm not fully trained in ACT and acceptance commitment therapy. I have some friends that really love it, and but I've been trained in some of the techniques. I heard some places got snow recently. Because I think I have a friend in Virginia Beach. I think she mentioned that they got a little bit of snow. And I saw somebody post because they were in Florida and the temperature was 33 degrees and they were mad because they moved to Florida from New York and they were really mad that it was 33 degrees in Florida. Oh, and so for somebody that feels that their therapist is judging them, you can always check in. So you can always ask. You could start the session and say, "Sometimes I feel like people are judging me." So remember when I told you about my mom and this happened? Like I kind of felt that, and therapists can clarify. The therapist can be like, because uh I have had to be honest when I've been frustrated and with in a situation. So therapists have to remain non-judgmental. But there have been times where I've had to let a client, I don't like your significant other. But it's okay. Like they're yours. Like we can talk about it. We can work. But like like but like and there's no judgment. Like I don't feel, but like for a minute, because the client could have seen me be like, you called who? You saw who? But like, okay, wait a minute. No. Non-judgment. And then let's talk about this come from your healthy, healed place, or did this decision come from that hurting place? And then I've had some clients, because I've challenged them on negative things. They have some people have decided not to come back, and that was their choice. But let me get ready to go live with Paul. Paul and I are going to be talking about So if you're here for cases, stick around. In about 6 minutes, Paul and I will be going live. We go live on through Paul's channel. So you'll hear his intro. So it's the hey. You get to welcome to the Sofa Squad. I'm going to go hang out with Paul to talk about the Devin Michaels case out of Las Vegas. It's a doozy of a case. If you'd like to stick around, please do. If not, I will see you all next time. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Have a good one. Bye.